This is Chantel Solomon, and the topic of my paper is thermal imaging technologies and its uses in law enforcement's fight against crime. Thermal imaging cameras or infrared cameras is a technology that enables detection of people and objects in total darkness and in very diverse weather conditions. It is popularly used by the Army and Navy for border security and law enforcement, used to avoid ship collision and in guidance systems. Thermal imaging technology is also used in military aviation to identify, locate, and target enemy forces. The greatest benefit of the thermal imager is the ability to see in darkness, fog, dust, clouds, smoke, haze, and most camouflage. Advanced optics and sophisticated software interfaces continue to enhance the versatility of infrared cameras. All objects that are not at absolute zero temperature emit various types of electromagnetic radiation, including infrared. The hotter an object gets, the more infrared radiation is emitted as a result of the thermal agitation of its molecules and its atoms. The spectral distribution or wavelength of this energy depends on the nature of the object and upon its temperature. The distance you can see a given target with a thermal imaging camera is called a range. To correctly determine the range of a thermal imaging camera, you need to consider the type of camera you're using, the type of lens you are using, the nature and size of the object you want to detect, and the atmospheric conditions in order for accurate detection, recognition, and identification, also called the DRI. In order to detect if an object is present or not, its critical dimension needs to be covered by 1.5 or more pixels. Recognition is defined as seeing what type of object it is, being able to make the distinction between a person, car, truck, or any other object. Identification, often used in the military sense of the word, which means seeing if something is friend or foe. Another critical parameter that affects how far one can see with a thermal imaging camera is called the focal length. The focal length determines the instantaneous field of view of a camera system. Long-range security applications, such as border security, require quite small field of vision because the imaging systems have to detect the objects the size of a man at a distance of several kilometers away. There are cooled thermal imagers and uncooled thermal imagers. There is a difference between how far you can see with a cooled and with an uncooled thermal imaging camera. Cooled camera systems are more expensive but generally have a longer range than uncooled systems under many conditions. The US-Mexican border continues to be the preferred corridor to smuggle cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and marijuana into the United States, the two most popular being cocaine and marijuana. According to the Department of Homeland Security, the United States shares 1,989 miles of border with Mexico, and organized crime groups operating from Mexico have smuggled marijuana into the United States since the early 1970s. The Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution states the right of people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. More recently, thermal imaging has been used by law enforcement as a technology to combat crime. However, the introduction of any new technology raises new debates regarding law enforcement's right to govern versus the preservation of the public's Fourth Amendment rights. Some argue that thermal infrared imaging is completely non-contact and non-invasive, that thermal images do not see inside the structure, but it is merely able to detect heat that is already being emitted from the structure, and is therefore not an invasion of privacy. Criminals quickly adopt advances in technology to pursue gains. They are not bound by the confines of the law and are oftentimes one step ahead of law enforcement. It is essential for law enforcement to stay current with ongoing criminal activities and aware of the new technologies being used by such criminals. One such program, according to the National Law Enforcement and Corrections Technology Center, comes through the Office of National Drug Control Policy's Technology Transfer Program, administered by the Counter-Drug Technology Assessment Center, known for its ability to put new technology into the hands of law enforcement with a minimum of red tape. This program has supplied more than 600 thermal imaging systems to agencies throughout the United States. One of CTAC's requirements, however, is that the recipient agency use the technology in counter-drug activities. Another activity that provides for the introduction of demonstration of thermal imaging technology is facilitated through the Border Research and Technology Center, part of NIJ's National Law Enforcement and Corrections Technology Center system, which puts thermal imaging technology into the hands of law enforcement agencies on a temporary basis for evaluation. This effort is a $79 million investment made by the U.S. Army Night Vision and Electric Sensors Directorate and the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency to lower the cost of thermal imaging technology. Technology has made thermal imaging more accessible to departments looking to improve surveillance efforts and provide added protection to officers and agents. Technologies that were developed exclusively for military use are now being made available to and are becoming commonplace in local law enforcement departments. These technologies, example thermal imaging, facial and behavioral recognition systems, remote monitoring by satellite, and even retinal scans, are becoming the norm in the fight against crime. The above-mentioned technologies are being provided to local law enforcement agencies, aided by organizations such as NASA, the U.S. military, and the National Institute of Justice. Whether used as a standalone device or as part of a larger integrated system, thermal images are an essential part of safety arsenals around the world. However, these technologies create issues involving police procedures and give police new capabilities that fall outside the probable cause and reasonable suspicion. Although law enforcement is bound by the law, in order to remain a force in the fight against crime, new technologies must be made available for use, and the laws must be amended in order to aid law enforcement's ongoing commitment to keeping its citizenry safe. This was my presentation. Thank you, and have a happy holiday.